Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to Sector for Nerds. I'm Ryan Brower, and today I'm here to give you guys my thoughts on the LEGO Star Wars Holiday Special. I'm going to talk about the good, the bad, the ugly, all of it. And if it's something that you guys want to see yourselves, then I highly encourage you guys to go check that out before you watch this review, because there obviously will be spoilers. If you maybe want to wait and see my thoughts on it first and then make a decision on whether or not you want to go watch it, that's fine. But just again, there will be spoilers. So the overall plot of this thing was Rey teaching Finn to become a Jedi, obviously post Rise of Skywalker, and that is intriguing to me because it is something that, like, obviously I don't want them to make any more movies past Rise of Skywalker. I want them to go back and start making Old Republic type stuff. So if we're gonna get the story in Lego form, like, that's perfectly fine with me. So obviously it's a little bit corny and stuff as well because it's Lego, but Lego stuff to me has always been enjoyable. I really love the Freemaker Adventures, as to me, like, I think it's a nice way to tell, like, smaller scale stories, but also make it fun and wacky, but also enjoyable for those who are Star Wars fans. So Rey has been reading through all the Jedi texts. She's trying to figure out, like, what's the best way to train him because he can't seem to figure it out. And she ends up going on this adventure to try and find, like, the key to being able to, help Finn, the key to help train him. And so then she stumbles across, obviously, the key to unlocking this, like, portal that travels between dimensions, like alternate universes, sort of like the multiverse in Marvel. Then she starts traveling to different points in time. Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon are on the Trade Federation ship, the part where Luke is being trained by Yoda to, pull the X-Wing out of the water. And there were a lot of little, like, callbacks and, like, jokes to make things funny, like when Yoda says, "Do or do not, there is no try," and then Luke's like, "But wait, isn't trying a good thing?" And then Yoda's like, "There are no participation trophies for Jedi." She goes onto the elevator where Obi-Wan and Anakin are going to see Padme in Attack of the Clones, and funny enough, Obi-Wan was voiced by James Arnold Taylor, and Matt Lanner voiced Anakin, which I thought was a really nice touch. So she travels to all these different points in time, and then she ends up coming back, and she's like, "Okay, BB-8, can we do one more, like, do it for Finn?" And so they go to the moment when Palpatine and Vader are in the throne room, and then, like, Palpatine gets the galaxy's best Emperor mug, which we see in the trailer, which is a callback to the Freemaker Adventures on when Vader gives him that on Empire Day. I thought that was kind of funny. And so Rey ends up getting away, but then, like, Vader follows her through the portal. They end up fighting, and Vader they travel through all these different points in time and mess everything up, and then Vader ends up getting the key and escaping. Now, let me kind of discuss real quick before we dig too much deeper into what happened. Let me kind of give you guys my thoughts on the traveling through the portals and things like that, because where I was slightly disappointed is that everything that you saw in the trailer was pretty much all you got when it came to the portal traveling. When you see the Mandalorian and Baby Yoda, like, in the trailer, they were only there for like a second or two. In the actual like, special itself, when you're watching it through, they're only in there for a good second or two. When Obi-Wan and Anakin show up, they're only there for a little bit as well. When you see that epic battle scene that I was really curious about, that was only like 5 seconds. So I guess if I had anything to complain about, it would just be I would have liked to have seen more of that, because that to me was, like, I think the most intriguing part of that trailer, but it was just kind of almost like a throwaway thing, which is a bit of a shame too, because I would have liked to have seen, like, well, what happens when you have, like, all these different characters from, like, all these different points in time battling each other. And we kind of get that a little bit later on a bit of a smaller scale, but it's just like you have this massive battle going on Tatooine, and I like the way that they set it up too, where Luke's just staring at the twin suns and they're playing that main Force theme, and as it's playing, like, all the characters are dropping through the portal and landing on Tatooine. I thought that was funny. Eventually, Vader gets away with the key, and Rey is trapped with the Luke Skywalker from A New Hope, and he's drinking blue milk, which I thought was hilarious. And she's struggling to be like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I've ruined everything. And then that's when Yoda comes to her as a Force ghost, and even Luke was able to see it too, which was pretty cool. Almost kind of like foreshadowing what Luke would, the fact that Luke will become a Jedi. With the help of Yoda, Rey's able to figure out how to sort of create another portal, which I kind of thought was a bit corny, but again, like it is Lego stuff, so I'm not gonna complain about things being corny when it's Lego. Speaking of Yoda, Yoda was voiced by Tom Kane, who voiced him in Clone Wars, and Yoda was also narrating throughout the episode as well, like at the beginning, in the middle a little bit, and then at the end. There's a point in this episode where Vader gives the key to Palpatine, and Palpatine's like, okay, I want to go to and travel like a bunch of years down the line, probably when I'm ruling the galaxy. Little does he know. So he travels to 30 years down the line, and I'm like, oh no, what's gonna happen? And then he sees Kylo Ren shirtless. Kylo pretty much spoils everything that's gonna happen with Vader throwing Palpatine down the shaft. So Palpatine's obviously ticked at Vader, and he's trying to get Kylo to become his apprentice. He fixed Kylo's mask to make it look like the one from Rise of Skywalker, which I thought was cool. They end up traveling back to the throne room and back to the time that Palpatine and Vader were in there. And so once Rey arrives, it kind of leads into like this epic, battle between good and evil, where it's Rey and Luke versus Vader and Kylo, and then Palpatine's obviously sitting on watching. He gets involved a little bit as well, using the lightning. So there we kind of saw, characters from other points in time battling against each other. You saw Luke in his, Return of the Jedi Luke versus Kylo Ren from, Last Jedi, Rise of Skywalker, that time period. And then you saw Rey versus Vader. So yeah, I mean, to be able to see some of that stuff, like, I thought that was cool. Rey ends up sending Kylo back through the portal and back to the point where he came from. Palpatine starts shocking Luke, sort of what we see in Return of the Jedi, and then he starts zapping Vader, and he's like, that's for throwing me down the shaft. And Vader's like, I haven't even done that yet. And he's like, yeah, whatever, zappity zappity. And I thought that was funny. And then Rey ends up fighting off against Palpatine. She ends up taking the key from him. Well, actually, she tries to take the key from him, and then Luke tries to help her. And then Rey's like, what's the first lesson you learned, Luke? And Luke's like, let go. So they both let go of the key, and the key ends up flying in Palpatine's face. He goes flying back, hits Vader. They both go spinning around their chair. I thought that was kind of funny, and it also kind of made me think of the moment in Revenge of the Sith where Yoda pushes Palpatine over his desk chair. Rey ends up returning through the portal with BB-8, with A New Hope Luke, and then Vader ends up throwing Palpatine down the shaft like we see in the movie. So then Rey ends up returning Luke to Tatooine. They end up fixing all of the moments in time, but they don't really show it. Like, they just show Luke looking at the twin suns, and you see all these portals popping up as like almost like, okay, we take you here, we take you here, take you there. So again, I kind of thought that was a little, I wish they would have done more with that battle scene, but I've already said my piece with that. Rey returns to Kashyyyk, where the Falcon is, and they're going to be celebrating Life Day. Because, throughout the episode, and I don't think I've really mentioned anything on that yet, but, like, throughout the episode, Poe, Finn, and Rose are trying to make, like, this celebration for Chewie's family, and they end up struggling to make food, and they end up struggling to make the party, good. So they get Finn, I think, hires Max Rebo to join him. Finn starts singing Jingle Bells in Huttese, which I thought was very corny and funny. But eventually, Rey gets back, and she basically tells Finn, like, the most important thing is me being here for you as, like, master and student, having that bond, which is something that Yoda also taught her in the cave. Like, you saw visions of, Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan and Anakin, Rey and Luke. The bond between a Jedi Master and his apprentice should be strong, and it's obviously something, Obi-Wan and Anakin were like brothers. Anakin and Ahsoka were like brother and sister. So then they all end up celebrating, and Billy D. Williams is voicing Lando, and he gets a rap from Admiral Akbar. Yoda ends up narrating the end of it and, basically says, happy Life Day to you all. So yeah, I mean, overall, it was a corny thing because it's obviously Lego, but it's stuff like this that I enjoy because, like I said, I love the Yoda Chronicles. Droid Tales was pretty good. I loved Freemakers, and you know what? This was pretty good too. I mean, was I expecting a bit more just because of the stuff that we saw in the trailer? Yes. So part of me would have thought like maybe it would have been better to not watch the trailer, because I think after I watched the trailer, I'm like, okay, I've got a little bit more expectation for what I think is going to happen. And then it just turned out like, oh, so they literally just took all these moments and put them in the trailer to try and get people to watch it. Which makes sense, but it also, to me, it's also kind of a cynical thing where it's like, okay, well, if you want to put all this stuff in your trailer, like, that's fine, but at least give us more so that, like, the people who are, because I can see people being disappointed with this holiday special. Granted, this episode, like, I think we can all agree that this holiday special is not as bad as the original holiday special, okay? And I haven't even seen the whole thing. I've seen like 10, 15 minutes of it, and I could not watch anymore. The only interesting part to me was the whole Boba Fett thing, which is kind of ironic because Boba Fett I'm not particularly fond of, but that moment was cool. Back to what I was saying, I think that I can see people being disappointed by this, and if you are, like, I'm not gonna, get mad at you for it, like, I get it, which is why I just think, like, okay, maybe if you would have had a little bit more Baby Yoda in there, if you would have had a little bit more Obi-Wan and Anakin stuff, you know what I'm saying? Like, I know there was the elevator scene with the hello there, that wasn't in the trailer, that was funny, but, like, I think I was still expecting a bit more out of that, but for what we got, obviously the main point of it being with Rey and, teaching Finn, and then you had Vader ruining everything, you have the epic battle between the Luke and Rey versus Kylo, Palps, and Vader. If I had to, like, give this, like, a sort of a rating or something like that, I wouldn't necessarily give it a full thumbs up, but I also wouldn't give it a fully thumbs down either. I would probably lean it towards a thumbs in the middle with it pointing more up than it is down. So I guess maybe a balance between thumbs in the middle and thumbs up. And the thing that you guys have to remember about these Lego Star Wars things as well is, like, they're not meant to be like, oh my gosh, this groundbreaking Star Wars thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not what these are meant to be. These are meant to be fun and wacky and enjoyable for, like, for you to sit with your family and watch. It's also a good way to appeal to kids as well because, as George has always said, that Star Wars is meant for 12-year-olds. But the cool thing is it brings the kid out of you, which is what Star Wars has always done for me. And you know what? Even if you're not necessarily a fan of the new trilogy, and I get it because it is a trilogy that has disappointed a lot of people, and I've already given my thoughts on that in numerous videos, so I'm sure a lot of you guys will already know, and if not, you can go back and check those out. But I think what I would have to say to that is, I think if you go into it with an open mind, you may not like the characters and stuff, but I think this sets a different tone than the movies does, if that makes sense. This movie doesn't push Rose down our throats, okay? Like, she's there, but it's not like she's the main focus. It doesn't necessarily focus on the new trilogy characters all that much either. The only one I would say it really focuses on is Rey. Other than that, it has a lot of focus on Vader and Palpatine, I guess Kylo a little bit too, but apart from that, it doesn't really spend too much time on those new trilogy characters, so I would have to say that if the only thing that's stopping you is the fact that you're not a new trilogy fan, I'd still encourage you to check it out. So that's gonna wrap up my thoughts on the Lego Star Wars Holiday Special. Let me know what you guys thought about it in the comments below, if it's something that you guys have seen. Let me know if you guys plan on checking it out. Like, if you guys haven't checked it out yet, let me know if you're going to check it out, if you're not going to check it out, and maybe even, like, give a reason why. It's totally up to you guys whether or not you want to do that, because, for me personally, since I do enjoy the Lego stuff and it is wacky and fun for me, it is something that I always like to check out, but I can totally understand if it's not your thing. Make sure you guys like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, share this video around as it really helps support the channel. Also, coming up pretty soon is my giveaway for Star Wars Squadrons. Make sure you look in the description of the video to learn more about how you can win a free copy of Star Wars Squadrons.
This is the way.
This is the way.